Hello, everyone. Hello, welcome to our Critical Breaks and SKY LAB info session. I am Aaron L. McKinney. I am the Interim Executive Director of Hi-ARTS, pronouns he, him, his. And as a physical visual description, I am a caramel black man with a baseball cap on turned backwards, black and white, with a black t-shirt that says the 17th Annual Hip Hop Theater Festival. And I am sitting in an office. Behind me is a white office door with some umbrella and a hoodie hanging on the door. And to my right, I had to put up my finger just to make sure, to my right is basically a 3-shelf file cabinet with some notebooks and folders. And I am joined by our curator in residence, Miss Kirya Traber, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hi, happy to be here. Kirya Traber, curator in residence with Hii-ARTS. I am a light brown skin Black woman with gold wire rimmed glasses, big gold hoop earrings. I'm wearing a yellow t-shirt, and behind me are some plants. And I am joining you from Lenape land, unceded territory in Brooklyn, New York. Where are you and where is Hii-ARTS, Aaron?
Thank you for that, Kirya. I am actually in Hi-ARTS office today, and we are seated on the land of the Muncie, Lenape, and Wappinger people, also known as East Harlem today. And so how are you doing today, Kirya?
Real talk, I'm tired, but I'm good. It's like I have a crisis of bounty going on, crisis of abundance, which is wonderful. And I think I, like many people, am stretching into what it means to be opening up again a bit and like recalibrating what my pace is. And hopefully Hii-ARTS might be a part of your opening up and your recalibrating.
Oh, yes. Very excited. We just came off of a few days break because we've been working really hard. And so we closed the office for a few days after the 4th of July. And to kind of rest and reset, we had a wonderful 20th anniversary Jubilee celebration a couple of weeks ago. And so really excited to give more information to artists and individuals out in this virtual land looking to apply for our residency programs. So Kirya, let's start this conversation. Today is going to be very informal. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments and we will answer those questions. And this video will also be up after this conversation so that you can see it and maybe answer any questions that you have. So just to start, let's talk about Hi-ARTS. So Hi-ARTS is a 20-year-old organization started as the Hip Hop Theater Festival. Our mission is Hi-ARTS is a leading cultural hub within the urban arts movement. Through artistic development residencies, vibrant multidisciplinary creative programming, and civic engagement opportunities, we empower artists to develop bold new work while creating a positive, lasting impact on our community. And what we do, Hi-ARTS is the only institution in New York City and one of the few in the country exclusively dedicated to supporting and developing hip hop and the urban aesthetic. Hi-ARTS supports emerging and established theater, performance, and visual artists to develop and present new work. We engage directly with the community through our artists, educational programming, and partnerships. And just so to boil all of that down, Hi-ARTS, 20-year-old organization founded as the Hip Hop Theater Festival, and we do theater, music, dance, and visual art dedicated to hip hop and urban culture. And as we go through this conversation, we will define some of these terms, but we also have a section on our website for the residencies that have frequently asked questions, and you can find some of those answers there as well. So basically what we do outside of the productions and the partnerships that we have, the main work that we do here at Hi-ARTS is help artists develop work. And so right now we have two main residency programs. We have the Critical Breaks and SKY LAB program. And both of these, and Kirya is going to go into a little more explanation in just a second. But both of these residencies really are geared towards helping artists take their work to the next stage. And so I'm going to turn it over to Kirya just to kind of talk about, what these residencies are, what they do, and what are some of the differences.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first thing I want to say right off the bat is, if you're watching this and you're an artist and you think, well, I don't know that I do anything that's directly hip hop related. Our definition of hip hop and urban culture and aesthetic is very expansive. So you don't have to have ever written a rhyme, made a beat, done a break dance to be under the umbrella of what Hi-ARTS wants to support. So we definitely have a really rich history of working with some incredible hip hop artists who are contemporary in this moment or historic legends. And also we work with folks who are born and raised in New York or other similar urban cities, or are people of color working at the edge of artistry and activism and thinking about ways that cultural organizing helps push change. That's also hip hop. So you don't have to be a technical hip hop related artist to be one of our family, one of our community. I just want to say that right off the top. So Critical Breaks is our longest running residency program, our most sort of established. Many of our productions that have gone on to the Hip Hop Theater Festival or the Kennedy Center or Lincoln Center or other places start with Critical Breaks. But what's important about it and all of our residencies is that they're really developmental. Development. That's the main purpose. Developing your art from where it is to where it's going to get to, which means it may or may not be finished and polished by the time you leave our studios. It's really about helping you get to that next stage in the work. So you come to, it's critical, right? It's a critical break in your work. You come to Hi-ARTS and you come to Critical Breaks when you're thinking, I really need some studio space, or I really need a little bit of support from some admin, or I need to be connected to a director, or I'd love a little bit of funds to support a creative team to do this one thing, to work on this part of my project. And we work mostly with performing artists, though there is some visual art, definitely. We're gonna have some visual art exhibitions this fall, for example, but one of the biggest advantages of Critical Breaks is being able to get together with people in real time. Critical Breaks does have a virtual component now in these pandemic and post-pandemic times. That's a sort of silver lining of these times. But its meat and potatoes is time in our beautiful studios, up to 50 hours, a stipend for the lead artist, an additional budget for compensating other artists, and potentially some supplies. That's Critical Breaks. So come to us if you're like, I need 50 hours to make this thing kind of do something different. We're here for you. SKY LAB is our newest residency, and this was started during the pandemic itself. And it really deepens a part of our mission and our values, which is supporting artists in their developing, organizing political ideas, connection to community, connection to movements, etc. So SKY LAB is for folks who working with community, being a community engaged artist, working as community, all the ways you might say it, is critical to how they exist as an artist. So our SKY LAB artists, such as Ebony Noel Golden, Benjamin Lumber Torres, Alicia Bauman Morales, et cetera, these are folks who they're probably looking at either a specific geographic area or a specific identity community, such as Harlem, Gowanus in Brooklyn, or adoptees and transracial adoptees. These are folks that are thinking about connecting through their art with folks who are artists and folks who might not be practicing artists. Folks who might just be living in these communities, living in these identities, for whom art can be a place to process and practice and praxis and move through and transform and push and demand and ask, and et cetera, et cetera. It's very similar to Critical Breaks in terms of the robust support you'll get from us. We can connect you with other artists. We can help you get with some administration tasks. We can help fund some of your work. We can give you space. The main difference structurally, it can be a little more flexible in time. It might be 50 hours, it might be more, it might be 50 hours stretched out across several months, because we know that folks who work in community have to be really flexible and responsive to what the community needs are. So it's not one thing, it's not a kind of set project. Now, given that, we like to be flexible and responsive regardless with all of our artists. That's a part of what we do. But SKY LAB is particularly flexible in that way. This is the first time we're opening up SKY LAB to general public to apply. It's been by nomination or selection only. So we're excited to see what that brings. So again, Critical Breaks, 50 hours in the studio, get some folks together and push yourself up to the next level. And then SKY LAB, working with community over a flexible period of time to explore a concept idea that relates back to that community through art. Back to you, Erin, I think.
Thank you, Kirya, for that great explanation and to talk about the differences and what these residency programs are. So just to go further into this, of course, we have an application process for both of these residencies. And so we're going to actually go through that application process right now, just to kind of look and see, what will be required of this application or to apply for these residencies. So if you go to our website, you will find the application for both Critical Breaks and SKY LAB on the website. And I'm sharing the screen now just so you can see. And at the beginning of the application is just some information. Like I said, there is also a link for the frequently asked questions. And just so you know, the application, once you start it, cannot be saved. And so you will need to, once you start it, you need to fill it out. But we have a preview of the application just so you can prepare your responses before you go to the official application. And all of this information, once again, is right here in the description at the top of the application. So we're going to move forward in the application. Once you go to the application, you will see that it's one application for both, but you choose what you want to apply for. So you can either choose Critical Breaks or SKY LAB or select both of them, and that will give you the questions that you need to respond to. Very simple questions at the top of the application, email address, name of the individual artist or ensemble. And Kirya, if you want to talk a little bit about why we distinguish those two, either individual artists or ensemble.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have lots of different kinds of artists that apply. And so unlike a sort of theater-based residency or a music-based residency or a visual arts residency or dance residency, folks are coming to us from across the spectrum and mediums. So we don't know if you're one person or you're 7 people. And we don't know how you identify, if you're a collective, if you're a troupe, if you're a cast, for example. So we keep it flexible and we allow you to self-identify, but we do need a lead artist to be the main point of communication, the main person getting the stipend and helping to navigate the sort of structure of the residency going forward. Does that answer the question, Erin?
Absolutely. So all of that to say is you don't have to be an individual artist. An ensemble or collective, as Kirya just said, can also apply for this residency. And these, once again, very simple questions. How many artists or collaborators are involved in the residency and what will be their roles? And all of these, we ask that you answer to the best of your ability. You don't have to necessarily have all of the answers and everything doesn't have to be exact. We just want to get an idea of what your plans are and what you plan to accomplish during the residency. Of course, we ask for bio information of either the artist or the ensemble. We ask what your artistic discipline or form is. Kirya, can you talk a little bit more about the artistic discipline or form?
Yeah. So like I said, we accept all kinds. We have we're set up again a little better for performing artists, performance art. Performance art is one of them, yes, but performing artists is what I mean. Folks who are doing things in time-based medium, usually with bodies on stage, for example. We don't, for example, if you're a painter and that's it, might not be the best fit for you. But if you have paint as a part of your performance art, could be dope. We want to hear about it. Oh, there's something else I was going to say about it. I just want to acknowledge that we do have some questions coming in that we definitely want to get to, which is, can you apply to both residencies? Do you have to live in New York? Housing, et cetera. I think we'll get to the housing and NYC part a little later, but I just want to reiterate again, you can apply to both. And if you're not sure which one you apply to, like, you're like, well, I really do have a really community rooted practice, but for this particular project, I'm not sure. Go ahead and apply to both and we'll help sort that out for you. I think for some folks, it can be really clear. Like, no, this is not just, something I'm going to apply to festivals with later. This is a ritual practice that I want to do with just my community. You're probably SKY LAB. But if you're thinking, oh, I might want to apply to theater festivals later with this, or I might want to be a part of some sort of other sort of structured artistic discipline, then you're probably going to be in critical breaks. That's one way to think about it. Does that answer the question, Aaron?
Yep. Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for addressing those questions. So moving on in the application process, describe your artistic devising or development process. Tell us how you make your work. How do you do the work that you do? And what is kind of like your plan, or how you plan to develop this work. And once again, please notice that there are word limits on all of these, on most of these questions. And so we ask that you draft this in maybe a Word document, and then, you can transfer it into this application. This is, I think, a specific SKY LAB question. How does your work serve or include community? Who are the communities? Once again, we ask that you just identify all of these. We ask that you just give us the best possible answer that you have at the moment. We do ask you to kind of think about these and, just give us what you have. And we want you to be truthful. We want you to be honest. So don't try to cater your residency to this, to what we're asking. We want you to give us your responses as you as an artist or an ensemble, how you do work and the work that you do. Yeah, we don't want you to cater and try to make something for this residency. We want you to give us, who you truly are as an artist. Providing a description of the work, and critical breaks and SKY LAB Residency are for artists who are in pivotal phase of developing new work. What are the goals of the residency you hope to accomplish? What is this pivotal phase for you? And how will the residency help you reach the next level? Very, that's a great question. And once again, just give us as much information as you possibly can. And be realistic about your goals. I often have conversations with artists and say that, you never realize how little 50 hours is until you're actually in the process. And so we would like to see what your goals are, but then once we get into that, reviewing the applications, and if you're chosen, we actually have a real conversation about, okay, now what can you realistically accomplish during those 50 hours or within this residency time. More questions. Are you experimenting with new work that exists outside the four walls of a traditional studio or theater space? This is not a required question, so if you don't have a response for this, you don't have to answer it. But if you do, feel free. And of course, how can Hi-ARTS, how can we be supportive during your residency, and how might you use the available resources? There are a description of resources listed under this question. You can also go to the frequently asked questions to get a little more detail about the resources. And then we get into budget. And I want to explain that the budget is not like end all be all. If you come to us with a $20,000 budget, that's not the only thing we look at. Now, granted, we won't be able to fund a $20,000 budget residency. I can tell you that right now. But we do look at the budget just to kind of see what your plans are. Also to see how you're thinking about who needs to be paid during your residency or what needs to be purchased during your residency. And then also as an artist, just to see how you are dividing up funds, or what you think about budgets for your residency. Once again, as we go through the application process, if you are chosen, we will have a conversation about the budget and talk about what realistic numbers are. As at minimum, we do say that we will give the lead artist or ensemble a $750 stipend for the 50 hours. And then there are other budget, if there are other budget needs, then there is additional budget that can be given towards your residency. And so we do have a form that you can fill out, or you can upload your own form, and you can do that right here. Let me see if I can share our template with you, just so you can see some of the questions that we ask for the budget. There we go. And so really simple project budget. Like I said, you can use this template, or if you have your own, you can upload your own. Like I said, this is really just for information and a framework of how you plan to spend money, or what your thoughts are around collaborators, artists, partners, or if there are funds needed for whatever you're doing within the community, please list those as well. Keep in mind that we do have an area for income, but outside of Hi-ARTS, income is not necessary. But if you do have other income sources for your residency that can help, then please feel free to list. Kirya, is there anything that I'm missing as far as budget that I need to answer or talk about?
Well, I wanted to give a general sort of reflection. So if folks are watching this and they've never applied to a Hi-ARTS residency before, it might seem like, oh, this is a lot of questions. One thing I want to name that I think is really important about the way we work is there's a way in which each residency is bespoke, is unique, is really tailored and crafted to the artist that we're working with. So when we're selecting an artist, it's not necessarily that there are some terms and parameters, but there's always flexibility, there's always conversation, there's always dialogue and discourse, so that we can be a good fit for you and make sure that this is a really rich and developmental experience for you. So we ask all these questions about, like, how do you work? What is your process? What is the specifics of your budget? What are your goals? So that we can, when we say yes to you, we can be ready to go with, great, this is what we read from you. Is that still true? How is that shifting for you? How can we step in and support? Where do we need to introduce you to someone else? Where do we need to, have myself as curator, or some of our other staff step in and support you during the process, or leave you alone during the process? So all of this is really about trying to pick artists that align with our values, have a sense of themselves as an authentic maker, not a sense of themselves that we want, but a sense of yourself, like, come to us and tell us how you make art. And you might make it different than anyone else. And that's the hip hop part of it, honestly. It's like we're working with folks who are freestyling within their discipline. So all of this is so that you can, it's all these questions are so that you can tell us what you do and how you do it in your own words. So we really do want you to be authentic. We really don't want you to just answer what you think you want. And listen, I'm an artist too. I'm a Critical Breaks artist as well. But I've applied to many residency, and there's some of them where it's really like, okay, for this theater festival, I know what kind of artists they produce, and I'm trying to make myself sound like that. And sometimes that's really what you need to do. In this case, it's the opposite. We don't have one set idea. We want you to tell us what you're doing and how cool it is. And we want to believe you. We want to help you make that. And I'll say, one thing about our last year, if you've watched any of our programming, much of which is still available on either our Facebook or our YouTube, if you want to watch some of our virtual programming, we've worked with artists that have totally shifted our understanding of what we do too. Like, we wouldn't have worked with any of these artists in the past. I mean, not we wouldn't have, we haven't, we just haven't yet. So lots of new, lots of expansion, lots of exciting. So we provide all these spaces for you to explain yourself in your own words, not to sort of ask you to fit into anything. And I hope that that's clarifying and less daunting. Same thing with the budget template. I was like, let's give a template in case someone hasn't put a budget together before. But if you've got a budget template that you like, use that. Hopefully this one is accessible for you. And if not, email us and ask us about it.
That was great. Thank you for that kind of general kind of overview, Kirya. We're going to go back to the application, and as I try to switch screens here we go. So we talked about the budget. Now this part is very important to talk about the public offering. And so this just says critical breaks in SKY LAB require a public offering, which may be a work in progress sharing or artist talk. Are you open to this? And let's talk about this public offering. And we are very particular about the language that we use. For both of these residencies, we want artists to focus on the process and development. So both of these require that there's some type of public sharing. And we call it a public sharing, a work in progress sharing, public offering. So you're not focused on, getting to this production or performance at the end of this residency. That's not what we're looking for. Where you can do, we've had artists do a section of what they've been working on just to show our audiences, our funders, our board, our staff, what you've been working on during this residency. That's the important part. Just to kind of, show that, yes, I've been in this residency. Yes, I've been doing some work. And here's kind of some of the things that I've been working on. Some artists, it's helpful for them to get feedback during this process. And so they are working towards, a section of the piece or a full sharing of the piece so they can get feedback. And so there is conversation after the public sharing. But the main point is that we want you to focus on the 50 hours of development, not preparing for a performance, because that doesn't benefit you during this residency. It is very rare for artists of color, for Black artists, to have time to play. And that's what these residencies are, for you to have time to play, to explore, and to be compensated and to be while you're doing this. So this is not free. The artists are compensated. We provide materials, we provide support. And so that way you have time to develop. Most people think that, okay, I wrote a play or I have a song and I'm going to Broadway next week. That's usually not how it works. It takes years, and for most artists, it takes years and years of development and trial and error and workshops and residencies to really get, to that stage of, final production. And to me, there's never really ever a final production because it always is evolving. There's always work to do. And so, yeah, so we are very specific about the language that we use. And I have this conversation with artists over and over and over again that we want you to be, to focus on developing the work and not working towards a final production or this final performance during the residency. We want you to explore, to play, have fun, and figure some things out. What works, what doesn't work. And then maybe that's part of the questions that you ask during your public sharing. Was this understood? Did this come across? What worked? What did you not understand? What do you need more clarity on when asking some of those questions to the audience or to individuals that are experiencing the work? So we do ask that there is some type of work in progress sharing, some type of public offering. And it also could be an artist talk. I was focusing on really the sharing part of it, but it could be an artist talk. So it could be a panel discussion or questions about the process. And usually our beautiful and wonderful curator in residence, Kirya, facilitates these conversations, and she has a pre-conversation with you as an artist to ask, how deep do you want to go? Or, where do you want to stay as far as, what you want to share with the audience? And so once again, reiterating the fact that we really are flexible and leave it up to the artist. We want you to go as deep or stay as surface level or be as comfortable as you can in this residency phase. But what we want you to do is focus on development and developing the work and, taking that next step in this work. So moving on, has there been any prior development of this specific project? You can describe, you can also talk about the audiences and communities you want to reach, and just some logistical questions. When would you like to begin your residency? Rehearsal time, because you can, as Kirya stated, now these can be in person, they can be virtual or hybrid. So they could be, you might rehearse the whole time in person at our space here at PS 109 in East Harlem. You could do virtual, where you are totally rehearsing on virtual platforms, and you can be anywhere in the world. Or it can be a hybrid, where you can do a combination of both, because it just depends on your collaborating team, or what you want to accomplish. And then we ask, what technical assistance does your project require? Once again, you can go to the FAQs for that. If you have a website, you can list that here, just so we can find a little bit more about you as an artist. If you have links to work samples that reflect your practice, it doesn't have to be the particular project that you are applying for. But if you just have work samples that describe who you are as an artist, or the work that you do, or your process, you can include them here. And just some other questions: upcoming performances of this work, you can list. This was a question that someone asked, and we'll address it here. If coming from out of New York City, will you need travel support or housing? So let's talk about travel. And for us at Hi-ARTS, we can support travel, so you don't have to be in New York City. It is a conversation. Can you do the residency virtual? Do you need to be here in New York City? We can house one artist. We do have a studio apartment here at the building in PS 109. And so we can house one artist. And at this time, we're not able to house, but as soon as that is open, due to COVID-19, the building is still not open, because we are housed in an artist residency apartment building. So there are 90 apartment units. So even though we are a community-based arts organization, we also still have to consider the residents, because this is their home in the building. So open it up to the public. Right now, we're not open. We're looking to open to the general audience in September. But we do have artists rehearsing in the building, and there are specific, precautions and safety precautions that we're taking, and we can discuss that a little more as we go through the application process with you. So we do have basically a tracker, so that anytime that you're in the building, we ask that you complete that tracker. Of course, the standard questions: if you feel sick, have you been vaccinated, or if you have been tested recently. So those type of questions we do ask, just for the safety of our artists, of our staff, and once again, the residents in the building. Just some very other simple questions. How did you hear about this opportunity? And then we also have some optional demographics information. Kirya, I'm looking at my list. Is there anything that we need to discuss that we've left out? Are there any questions that we need to answer?
Yeah, I'll go through a couple of things, questions that came from the audience that were also on our list, some of which you touched on, but I just want to reiterate. So to answer the residency question, as in residence in what city? I will say, I think we have a bit of a priority to work with New York artists, but we have worked with out of New York City artists, including in the last year. We are more inclined to ask you if you'd be open to a virtual residency. And I want to talk about what that might look like, whether you're in New York or out of the city. A virtual residency, we can provide a Zoom meeting space if that's needed, or you might use your own, or Google Hangouts, or whatever your preferred thing is. If you're an individual artist, then it's a question of what kind of support do you individually need? Are you looking to work with a director or dramaturg or someone else, so we can sort of partner you with someone, or you can come in with a partner? If you're a collective or ensemble, then you might be in different locations, and you can meet virtually. And we would then support your process by, again, perhaps providing the Zoom meeting information for you, or just checking in on you and following up for accountability. Maybe you meet for 50 hours over 10 days, and we check in with you every 3 or 4 days. We come and visit the rehearsal virtually just to see how it's going. And then, as Erin said, we always culminate with a public sharing, which might be an artist talk. It might be a panel discussion. It might be a work in progress of something that you've made over the 10 days. That's what a virtual residency looks like. You do not have to live in New York to do it. You can live in New York to do it. Hybrid is obviously a little bit of that, a little bit in the studio. So if you are not based in New York and you really want to be in person, it is possible. And know that we will probably prioritize New Yorkers first. But that shouldn't keep you from applying, because also we love to know artists. And so even if we don't select you right away, starting a relationship is a really good idea. And we might select you because you might be awesome, and that's great. So I wanted to address that a little bit, the sort of virtual in New York, not New York question. If you have questions about that or anything else, email us. I believe it's info@Hii-ARTSNYC.org, or ask questions right now. But if you have questions that come up later, if you're watching this later, please email us. And then I wanted to, yeah, I think that's, I want to say that, and then I'm going to kick it back to you, Aaron, because I want to talk a little bit about the space. What actual physical spaces do we offer? So go ahead, Aaron.
Yes. So to talk about the building, once again, I mentioned that we are in artist residency apartment building. And so the basement of that building are community organizations, arts organizations, and we have two spaces. So we have the Black Box Theater, which is Black Box Theater studio space, which is about 2,100 square feet. Of flexible space, so chairs can be placed anywhere. There's a full lighting grid with about 16 lighting instruments and a sound system, and so you can use that space with concrete floors. Very important to mention that. So you can use that space for mainly theater pieces, and the space is pretty much open for rehearsal from about 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday through Saturday. And so we will talk to you, but it is a shared space, and so we will talk to you about your schedule, how you like to rehearse, when you would like to rehearse, and our staff will work with you on scheduling those rehearsals. We also have a dance studio space, sprungwood floor, with it's about 1,200 square feet. Full, one wall has full floor to ceiling mirrors, and so once again, same thing, it's a shared space, and so that space as well, we will work with you on scheduling when you can be in the space. We also are happy to announce that Hi-ARTS is moving into a new office space within the building. And so right now our office space is about 600 square feet. We are moving into a 3,500 square feet space that includes a gallery space, basically an open space with sprungwood dance floor. And so that's also an opportunity that you can rehearse in our actual office space, which is also studio space and rehearsal space, and could also be presentation space. Once again, we can either do a virtual tour. We are happy to invite you into the space. You can come and walk through the space, and so you can see which spaces work for you and your process. And we will work with you on scheduling whichever space works best for you, and also when it's available. So that's to talk about the spaces. Any other space questions, Kiri, that I need to answer? I think, yeah, that's all the spaces.
I think so, yeah. Well, and also with our virtual residencies and with SKY LAB, we're also open to supporting virtual presentations that don't happen in our space and site-specific spaces. This is a growing edge for us, so I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, we have a perfect, virtual cast, It's more like we're willing to learn and stretch with you. We've done some virtual sharings from outside of New York City that have gone really well. And we've done some live streaming from our studios, and we're very interested in site-specific work as well. So, and we've done that also with Alicia in the fall in Gowanus. So, come and ask us, hey, I want to do this on the Hudson River. Cool. Let's talk about it. Or, hey, I want to do this, from a hot air balloon that I rented. Cool. I want to hear about that, for example.
We're open to any and all ideas. We want you to stretch your imagination, because that's only going to stretch us. And we'll figure out how we can accommodate it if it's something that we feel like would be appropriate for, for these residency programs. We're going to take a few moments to take any questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to post in the chat on whichever platform you are watching. If not, you can always email us. Again, that email address is info@hi-artsnyc.org, or you can visit our website. But again, you can always email questions to info@hi-artsnyc.org. Also, go on our website and you can look at the frequently asked questions. Some of your questions may be answered there. And you can always give us a call at 718-497-4282, and we will return your phone call. We are still working. We're still working hybrid, so we are in the office and remote working, but we will return your call as soon as we are able. And we try to return both emails and calls within 48 to 72 hours.
Yep. I want to say a couple more things. Well, if folks have questions, again, please send them now or email us or call us. But again, I want to reiterate who we work with. So yes, urban arts, hip hop arts, but that's expansive. It's incredibly expansive. Who we work with in the past, folks who have been experimental performance artists, who have been musical theater artists, who have been dancers with a theater angle, theater artists with a dance angle, and on and on and on. So come to us. I think one thing though, that if it isn't clear to you now, is that we really do like folks who are interested in experimental forms, or interested in outside of the mold. So if you're looking for a sort of page to stage theater workshop, this isn't really that space. If you're looking for a, we do have capacity to record in our studios, record sound and video, but we're not a recording studio. So this and that, a little bit of both. So again, folks who are interested in something that's a little outside the box, where they can really be flexible, stretch their wings, try things that other people might think are weird or not gonna hit, not gonna be the thing. Like, we wanna know if it's a thing. We wanna explore that with you. So definitely apply. Very important, if you're gonna apply this time, apply July 15th. This is when we're making decisions for the new year, right? Is that right? This is for residencies beginning in January 2022?
Yes, so this, I think, apply by July 15th for residencies from January until about June of next year. And so if you are planning to, or are planning to do a residency around between those months, then this would be the time for you to apply. We have announced our programming for the rest of this year, and so you can go to our website to see who those artists are that will be in residence for the rest of this year. But for January through June of 2022, please apply now by July 15th. And the goal is by October to have those residencies decided upon, so that we can start working towards scheduling how, your residency will look sometime between January and June. Great.
Anything we forgot?
I think that's all. I think we've covered quite a bit of information. Like I said, absolutely, if you have additional questions, or if there's something that we did not answer, or as you're going through the application process and you don't understand something, please feel free to email us. Please call us. You can send us a chat on any of the social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or you can even chat us on our website. So you can, many ways to reach us. So if you have questions, of course, reach out to us. You can follow us on all social media platforms at Hi-ARTS NYC. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Go to our website, which is www.hi-artsnyc.org. And once again, you can email us info@hi-artsnyc.org. Kirya, I think that's it.
I think so.
I think we've done a great job discussing what this is, what we do, how we do it, and we are looking forward to the applications that are going to come in.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you all for joining us today.